of these, basically these algebra techniques. This is a factorized form of a quadratic equation. We'll expand it. We'll see what happens. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen this before. We expand, we multiply the x plus 3. This is x plus 3 multiplied by, there's actually a multiplied sign in there. We don't actually write it, but it is there. So it's x plus 3 multiplied by x plus 4. So there is this sort of umbrella method or rainbow method. So the x is by x and the x is multiplied by plus 4. So this multiplication is like x multiplied by x. X by x would give you x squared. Then we've also got this one gives you x multiplied by positive 4. X times 4 gives you 4x positive, so plus 4x. Then we have the other expansion, which is the plus 3. So we've got plus 3 by x. So that's 3 by x. That's going to give you 3x. And then we have 3 by 4. And that will give you plus 12. Now, what I really want you to take note here is when you expand something like this, straight away you get one x squared term and you get a number term just by itself. And then you get two terms, right? Two of these terms that have a x on there. So let's just simplify this together. This is x squared. Now we can collect by terms, plus 7x plus 12. Now that is expanding, okay? Now I'm going to do a little bit of extra. As I said, we're not just going to sort of just stick in with the work here. I wanted to sort of also have a look. That's expand the following. We're also going to have a look at then how do we factorize that. So this is an example of expanding. A question I might ask you guys is to say, factorize the following. So this was already in factored form. So if I say factorize the following, and I'm going to give you the same question, which is x squared plus 7x plus 12. So we want to go from this back to that. Expanding, we want to go from this to there. So when we're going from this back to that, we've got to understand how it expands. If you understand how it expands, then we can factorize this. When we went from here, we got two products, okay, of the x. The 7x came from two things. It came from these ones, which really, when you look at this, because this is a monic expression, this came from the 3 and the 4. The 4 and the 3, it was 4x and 3x. So it comes from the sum of two numbers. So we're looking for the sum of 7, two numbers. So we want to find two numbers that sum, let's say 2, 7. Let's sum 2, 7. Because obviously what happened is we went x, because we want to get back to this. We want to get to 3 and 4. But also, if you noticed, we went 3 by 4 to get this. So they need to sum to 7. And multiply to 12. Find two numbers that sum to 7 and multiply to 12. Well, it'll be 3 and 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. 3 times 4 is 12. So, therefore, how do you get the x squared? Well, that would be x by x. So then the next step is we know this. x plus 3, x plus 4. That's going to give me 3x, 4x, 7x, and that's going to give me 12. So I'm going to work with these in parallel. Normally I wouldn't do this, but looking at your pre-tests, I want to sort of show the link between these two and understand the factorizing and that as well. I want you to keep that in mind as we sort of work through this. Please make sure you're writing this down, guys, because we're going to sort of jump a bit ahead, and I've got no problem with that because of the data that people have shown me so far. All right, with the next one, as long as you're getting the expanding as well, that is the main thing. If you're struggling with this, don't worry too much. We will come back to it, but I really want to look at this one. So this is a go for you guys to have a go at 1a. I would like you guys to expand this one. And then we've got x plus 7. And then also, once you've got your answer, try and figure out what you're trying to do. So have a crack at this one. Shouldn't take you too long. Hopefully it takes you about 2 minutes, and then I'll quickly run through it. Good luck. And I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm just going to share something else. Sorry, just so I can do one thing. There you go. Yep. Okay. Give you another minute on that one. All right, look at how he went. I will get a few people volunteering after this. I'm just going to quickly whiz through this though. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to obviously expand our x by x. That tells us it's x squared, right? That's the first thing I'll look at. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to change it up a little bit just to show expansion. We're going to go, x by 7. That's going to give us 7x. Okay, so that's going to be plus 7x. And then I'm going to also do 2 by x. I should have just done this way, ignore that, which is 2x. And then I'm also going to then just change pen to a different color, just to show you a different technique, which I probably should have done before. And I'm going to do 2 by 7, which gives us 14. And then we collect our like terms. So then I've got x squared plus 9x plus 14. Now, the reason why I did it like this is to help us with the next section. So we want to now factorize this. So the first thing you want to look at is this term here. When it's x squared, I know that it's going to be x multiplied by x to possibly factorize it. You can't always factorize it, but you should always try. We'll show you some different techniques as we go through. These ones we can because they've came from a factorized form. We've expanded them, so we know we should be able to get them back. First thing I'm thinking is x by x gives me x squared. Okay, I know that. But then I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 14, because that just comes from the one multiplication of those two numbers. But add together to give me 9. Now, the only reason why I can use this rule is because there's actually a 1 in front of here. If it's not 1, then we do a different technique. But we can do that for this technique. So I'm looking for, so that's because it's x and x here. Two numbers that multiply to 14. And why do they multiply to 14? They multiply to 14 because that's where this came from. 2 times 7, that is 14. That's why you were looking for two numbers that multiply by 14, because they're going to be the numbers that sit on here. It's going to be something times something. Well, that has to give me 14. But we need them to add to 7. And why we need them to add to 7, change this to green. And to multiply to 7 and add to 9. Why we need them to add to 9 is because that went 2x, 2 by x, because that's just a 1x. That's going to give you this number multiplied by that. Will just give us the number in front. That would just be 2x. X by 7 will just give us 7x. So it's just going to give us the, I suppose you could call the number in front of x, which we call the pronumeral of, the coefficient of 7 of x, I should say. So that's where we're getting it from, because it comes from the multiplication of that. That's just going to give you 7 lots of x. So this by this is just going to give you however many numbers of x, and that by that is going to give you however many numbers of x. So two numbers that multiply to 14 and add to 7, that would be 2 and 7. Because if you think about it, it's going to be x plus 2, x plus 7. The multiplication of this, when you expand it, is going to give you 14. But they're going to give you 2x plus 7x, which will give you 9x. So really, in short, we're always looking for the addition of these numbers, and we're looking for the multiplication of these numbers. Add to 9, multiply to give you 14. Okay, that's what we're really looking for. Let's move on to the next section. Okay. I hope you got there. If you've got questions, please ask as we go along. All right, the next one we're going to do is we're going to have a look at x minus 2, x plus 6. And this is going to be the same thing, okay, all the way down. We're going to expand these. So quickly expand these for me. I hope you're getting pretty quick at it. And it doesn't really matter which way you multiply them, as long as the x multiplies by the x plus 6 and the 6. Sorry, the x multiplies by the x and the plus 6, and this multiplies -2 by x and -6. And -2 by -6 gives me -12. Oh, what's going on there? That's what I want it to be. Okay. Okay, so now we can bring these all together. That's going to give me, when we expand it, That's going to give me 4x. Oops. And it's also going to give me x squared. So it's going to be x squared plus 4x minus 12. Now, when we go into factorizing, hopefully you got that. Any questions on the expansion? So really all you got to do here is collect your like terms. So it's negative 2 plus 6x. The thing we've got to realize here is that when we're talking about factorizing, so let's have a look at x squared plus 4x minus 12. When we're looking at factorizing this, there's a few things we need to look at. Again, look at this. Well, I know to get x squared, that has to be x multiplied by x, because there's only one way to get this, only one way to get that. It's x by x, and it's the number by the number. So they're the two things that you first look at when you start. How do I get this number? Well, to get a negative 12, that would have to be a negative by a positive. So I know one needs to be negative, and I know one needs to be positive. Okay? So I'm still looking for two numbers that multiply to give me negative 12, but add together to give me 4. Now, if you think about it, one has to be a negative, one has to be a positive. So I know the difference between them has to be 4. So therefore, it's going to be 6. Because when you add them together, the difference between these two has to be 4. Because it's like 6, negative 2, because you're adding those two together, really, the difference is 4, because you could say, in other words, 6 minus 2x is another way for saying subtraction is difference. So again, I'm looking for two numbers, add to plus 4. Whoops. Add to 4. Sum to 4 or add to 4. And multiply to negative 12. We know it's negative. To get, therefore, one number positive, other negative. So we've got one positive and one negative. They need to add to 4. The bigger number obviously needs to be positive. The smaller number needs to be negative. 2 by 6 gives me 12. So it'd be 2, negative 2, and 6 adds to 4. And the difference between these is going to be that. Two numbers add to 4. Or you could say, in this case, because it's a negative, two numbers that give you a difference of 4. And that's what it is. So therefore, your answer for this is going to be x minus 2, x minus 6. Whoops, plus 6. It's going to give you negative 12. Negative 2x plus 6x gives you positive 4x. What the heck you went on that one? Let's try the next one. I'll just leave those there. I'd like you to have a go at this one. By the way, we are just working through question 1. It is expanding and factorizing at the same time. So I just want to sort of go through this just to give you guys a bit of a head start. And I'll leave you guys to do the rest of the expansion. So this will be the last one I'll sort of go through. You guys have a go through, and then I'll speed it up a bit. I'm going to have x minus 3, x plus 4. Have a go expanding that one. So again, when we're expanding, we're going to basically just go x by x. That gives me x squared. Negative 3 by x, that gives me negative x. X by 4, that gives me positive 4x. Negative 3 by 4 gives me negative 12. Then we collect our like terms. When we're factorizing, we're starting here, I want to add or a difference of 1. If it wants to add 2 or difference of 1. So really a difference of 1, but multiply to 12. If I think of all my numbers, I've got 1 and 12. I've got 3 and 4, and I've also got 6 and 2. So 3 and 4 has a difference of 1. That is a difference of 4. That is a difference of 11. These would add, if one was positive and negative, to 1. We know they need to be positive and negative because of the negative 12. So what I'm actually doing when I set up my factorizing is I know it has to be x and x. But I also know, because it's negative 12, 1 has to be positive and 1 has to be negative. And I know when I add them together, it needs to be a difference of 1, because when you add them together, they're going to cancel each other out because one's negative and positive. So it's going to be 3 and 4. And 4 has to be the bigger number because it has to be positive 1. So you can list out your factors and you can find that. So the whole way we've kind of done that. I'm just going to stop and reflect, and then I'm going to move on a bit faster. So when we did this expansion, I hope you got that down pat. It's like x by x gives you x squared, x by 4 gives you 4x, 3 by x gives you 3x, 3 by 4 gives you 12. It's why we have the sum of these numbers and those. When I look at this equation here, I first think of, okay, it's got a 1 in front of it. It needs to be x and x to give me x squared. But also, because this is positive, I know that either these need to be positive or both positive or both negative. Because a negative by a negative number will give me positive multiplication. However, they need to add to give me positive 7. That means that these both need to be positive, okay? Because they need to give me 3x and 4x. If this was x squared minus 7x plus 12, well, then they'll both be negative, and it'll be x minus 3, x minus 4, because of that. So the first thing is I look at this to get x and x, then I look at this number and think of what multiplication will give me positive 12. And I also look at the power of it, like the symbol of this. That's positive. Well, that means these need to be positive in here because of those two, because they're both positive, because of the expansion of those. Again, here, if I'm looking at something like this, I'm seeing x squared, that has to be x plus x, 14. Okay, so that to get a positive number, it needs to be positive times positive or negative times negative. Well, it needs to be positive times positive because that's positive. Here's a bit different. X squared, that needs to be negative. That's negative, so 1 has to be negative, 1 has to be positive. The only way to get a negative out of two numbers is 1 has to be positive or negative. Here, again, I'm looking at this one here, x squared, so that has to be x and x. 1 has to be negative, 1 has to be positive, and the difference of it needs to be 1. So it's going to be 3 and 4. Where here, notice it was still negative 12, but the difference needs to be 4. So it would be 6 and 2. Let's move on to just one of the last ones that I want to show you. I'm just going to change it up slightly on this one. I'm going to do this question, but slightly different. So I'm going to do x squared minus 7x plus 12, just to show you something. I will go about 5 minutes into overtime. I do apologise. It was plus 12. It was 5 and 2, wasn't it? It can't be plus 12. Yeah, it was 12. 3 and 4, I should say. Plus 12. Actually, I want to expand that. I've done this in the wrong column. X squared minus 7x plus 12. We want to expand that. So x minus 3, that will be an x minus 4. So if we expand this, it's going to be x squared negative 3x. It comes from the sum of these. That actually, when you collect these like terms, it's going to be that negative 4x. And the multiplication, watch this, negative 3 times negative 4 gives you positive 12. So that's how we get that one there. So when we're doing this, okay, hopefully you can see that we get just x squared just comes from the multiplication of two x's. And the 12 comes from the multiplication of the two numbers. Now it's positive, and a lot of people think, oh, because it's positive 12, when we're factorizing, it needs to be two positive numbers. But you need to look at this, because it could be either two positive numbers multiplied by each other or two negative numbers multiplied by each other. And because this is negative, it gives us the information that they must be two negatives multiplied by each other because these come from the sum of both of those. So when I'm looking at this and I'm factorizing, first thing I look at is that, and I go, okay, I know it has to be x by x. The second two things I look at is this is positive, yet this is negative. Okay, so I'm looking at the constant number there and the number with the x on it. Because that's positive and that's negative, to get positive, there's two options. It can either be a positive multiplied by a positive or a negative multiplied by a negative. To get -7, it needs to be, if this is positive, then it would be a positive plus a positive. That would equal a positive, right? But if it was a negative plus a negative, that would equal a negative number. So what I'm really trying to say there is because this is negative, I know that needs to be negative and negative. And that's how I can figure out my things. Then I say to myself, okay, therefore, two numbers multiply to 12 and add to -7. Both, it doesn't, you don't even have to worry about -7 because you know it's negative. You know it's always going to be negative. Both negative numbers. So I can go, well, 3 and 4. So then I'll list out my factors of 12. Because really, if they multiply of 12, you just list out the factors. We got 1, 12. We've also got 2 and 6, and we've got 3 and 4. Which ones add if they'll both, oh, we know they both need to be negative. So it could be -1 times -12, -2 times -6, or -3 and -4. -3 and -4, bingo. That adds to -7. This would add to -8. This would add to -13. Multiplies, adds to. So I know it needs to be 3 and 4. But then my last step is then in my thinking, is it's going to be x minus 3, x minus 4. So I know that they need to multiply to give me positive 12. They both need to be negative numbers. Okay, but they need to both add to give me -7. So what multiplies to 12? 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Which one adds to 7? -7, we're going to say 3 and 4. And that's how we can do the factorizing. I'll leave it a bit there, guys. I'm just going to quickly whiz through a bit more of this and leave a little bit of work for your homework. I would like you to do for your homework the right compressed list, which I will show you how to do. But I'm just going to quickly go to a bit of a higher order thinking of expansion. So when we have a question like this, when we expand this, we do it the same way. So 4x by 2x gives us 8x squared, because it's 4 times 2 is 8, x times x is 8x. 4 by 4x by 5 gives us 20x. 3 by 2x gives us 6x. 3 by 5 gives us 15. We're not going to factorize these backwards because you do it a different technique. I'm not going to show you that. But then you just collect your like terms. Like so. Yeah, so I would like you to basically have a go at these questions. I'd like you to do the, if you can please do, let's see, I'm just going to go up into the book and just show you guys this. Let me stop sharing. So the questions I'd like you to do is the compressed list for questions 1 to 4. So what I mean by that is just there. I'm going to get you guys this for homework. Okay, so if you go into your Cambridge Maths interactive textbook, if you go into pages into 8A, expanding binomials, for questions 1 to 4, I would like you to try just the compressed list. So to do that, on the working program, do the right column. It's called the right column. I would like you to do those, please. Question 1 to 4, just 2, 3, and 4. I'd like to do that. Then go back to all, and I'd like you to do all questions 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's what we'll be doing. So write program for 2, 3, 4, and then change it back to all 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There is a few questions in there, but this will help you guys think about it with that. So you have to figure out what the missing term is in here. Hopefully you can figure that out. It shouldn't take you too long. Please have a crack at those. I did just want to go through a couple more things, but that will make it a bit easier for us. And yeah, that's it basically for today. We're going to jump around this textbook. We're not going to follow it like as in the sequence as I would like you to. I'm going to be jumping around in the textbook, so you won't see it quite the way how I will be doing it. So yeah, we'll be doing it slightly different. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for you guys. So next chapter that we will be hitting will be 8F after this, and the reason for it is because I want to try and do like what we've done here in today's lesson is we're going to be doing one type of factorizing or expansion, and then we're going to look at the factorizing of it, expansion and factorizing. So when it's written like this is how we can factorize it the easiest. And that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to sort of jump around, not sequentially. Good luck. Please have a crack at that. Next lesson will be basically the factorizing of this. So have a crack at expanding, and next lesson we'll be moving on to 8F. Have a lovely time. Thanks for your time, guys. Sorry to hold you back, but it did just take a while. If you got any questions, let me know. Yeah, if you can, Jesse, if you've got them. Otherwise, you can try and put them in again. Thanks for your time, guys. We'll give you time working on it next lesson. Thank you. Bye. If you can try and submit it again, Jesse. I think if it doesn't work, then just send me an email. It deletes half my answers. Okay. Yeah, don't. Okay, so the only thing I could say is maybe try it in a different browser and do it again. If you've got a different browser, try a different browser, Jesse, and just try and put them in there. And if that doesn't work, just email them through to me. Do you have the solutions for them? You should have the solutions for them, I think. Do you know which ones are right and wrong? If you can tell me which questions you got incorrect, that will probably help me. Like what question number? Can you do that? I hope you can. Okay, if you kind of know, yeah, you should be able to get the solutions. I'm just wondering where we can get the solutions from. I think they're in the work solutions section. Yeah, if you can email me your wrong questions, that'd be handy. Just tell me which ones you got incorrect, because that will let me know. It's pretty much all I want to know is what you're doing and you don't know. So that would really help me. But cool, I think. Yep. Okay, awesome. Yay. Thanks, Jesse. Have a good day at home. I'm going to run off to school soon. Oh, my computer's all so slow. Thanks. Bye. See you guys.